What up, world? It's Fest of Reverb, and welcome to Patchwork. We're back in my home studio, and instead of going through my live rig, I thought I would open up the conversation to other artists who perform with Eurorack. So today, we're here with Trovarsi. Trovarsi is an LA-based producer, music composer, modular artist, live performer, educator, influencer. If you're in the modular scene, you've definitely seen Trovarsi, and she's here with us today on Patchwork. Trovarsi, what's good?
Yo, hey, what's up? Thank you, Fez, so much for having me. This is great.
Oh God, seriously, thank you for joining us today. So, as I was saying in the studio with our first episode of Patchwork, performing with modular is, for one, very personal, but it's always changing, right? You're always sort of experimenting what you're adding to your performance rack or rig, or subtracting from it and trying, new voices, new filters, new sequencers, whatever. So I thought it would be really cool to just get other people involved with this conversation. So I really appreciate you being the first to join us here at Patchwork. So yeah, you've been performing a lot. I've been catching some of your sets virtually, with the pandemic and whatnot. But you were just, what was the last set you just did?
I just played Earth Modular Society.
How did that set go? Is your rig like still sort of somewhat the same as when you perform that set, or is it changing like we always know it will?
all of the above. No, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Like, there's just so many talented people playing all genres all over the world, just like streaming to the Earth Modular Society's YouTube channel. I was using a hybrid setup.
For sure.
And yeah, like that's sort of the direction I'm going right now with my modular performances, is going back to utilizing Ableton and just basically using audio and CV, and between the two, sending between Ableton and the rig, and just utilizing all the capabilities that a hybrid setup can do.
We got a lot to jump into then. Well, let's see what you got working with.
My philosophy is use whatever, computers, hardware, modular, all of it intertwined together. Whatever works for you and can get your musical message out, I say use it.
How are you using your controllers? I know you have the ES9 by Expert Sleepers. So that's acting as like the interface to interface all your modular into Ableton, right?
Yes. These controllers here, they're the K2s by Allen and Heath.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 4 channels each. I have them Velcroed together, actually, just so they stay together. And they have this cool way to connect to each other, so I don't have to use 2 USB cables. I can just use an Ethernet into one. It's great because now I can have all these channels mapped to Ableton. I map like low kills, mutes. I have a big delay. I typically try to keep similar on each channel of mapping. So I have like additional reverbs, delays. I have like a DJ style filter on the channel, so you can kind of hear. So on top of the filter that the voice is running through in the modular, I have extra control. The idea for it is just to have control, because, playing live, you never know what kind of room you're really getting into until you get there. So any way I can map EQs or filters and things to control, the frequency of, and my sound, I'll do it. And this is great. The cool thing about the ES9 is that it has a headphone out, and that's actually a channel that I can put on Ableton. And so I have these mapped to, I have it set up so there's a Q channel in Ableton. So when I turn these on, just like in a DJ mixer, this sends this channel to the headphone.
Yes. Wow,
so now I can cue it before I, send it out to the house, which is nice. Yeah, these controllers are great. Like, you're talking, this is like a knob, a button, lots of control here.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I really dig how you have the queue set up. What kind of case is this? This 2 cases or one fold up case?
Basically, right now, what I'm using is the IntelliGel 7U. So I have 3, 3, 1U row. And then I have the palette case, a 1U row here and a 3U. I am having a case built for my travel shows is 94 HP. So it's a little bit shorter than this case, and it will have one more additional 3U row. It's January, and
Yes.
I'm utilizing January as the opportunity to figure out which modules I'm going to keep and put in my performance case. And I pretty much now have it figured out, so this is great. So I can't wait to tell you, and I can also share with you my modular grid link to how that case is going to look. But I have the R-bar by Instruo, that's definitely staying. I have the Tan-H, which is, I use it more so as like a limiter, and into that right now I have the Polycinematic by Nobula. So that's a nice 8-voice polyphonic synthesizer. And the great thing about that is it has MIDI. So I'm actually taking advantage of the MIDI capability and sequencing with the Vector. The Vector sequencer by 512 is my main sequencer. I love it. I love the connectivity. And by this module being able to connect over MIDI, I can really take advantage of playing the chords, the chord features with it. Take advantage of the full 8 voices, which is awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So that's a full voice oscillator then.
Yeah, it's a beast. Do you want to hear it a little bit for a second, or? So it has. I really like this one because it can. I've picked voices that can change and I can have sound extremely different at different points, so I can utilize the space in my case. So that's one of the main reasons too that I picked this module. So it can go from sounding like this.
That's beautiful. That's one of the main things I love about just digital oscillators in general. I know a lot of people jump into modular to go full analog, but I had to learn very quickly that at least going the full analog route might not be the best thing for live performing.
I go back and forth. I've had some of the new Expert Sleepers modules. I've used those for live performance. I have the Brenzo. I have some other, analog voices, and I really enjoy using them. For me, planning for a live setup is like planning for worst case scenario. Let me choose things that I feel that I can tune fairly quickly and that they'll stay in tune even if they're sitting on a stage for hours, before you actually play.
Another perk of the digital oscillators again. I mean,
Yeah. But I love analog voices, so it's really, it goes back to that whole thing you said about switching, like I say this right now, but nothing I say about what's staying in this case I've realized over my years using modular is set in stone. And that's the ironic and part about it, and the fun part about it is being able to, swap out and try different voices. I have the BIA by Noise Engineering. I love it. It's known as a drum and percussion module,
right.
But I use it for bass and lead lines. I have used it for kicks and percussion, but I don't use it like that so much anymore. I enjoy the flexibility and the other dynamic sounds and range that this module has, and it pairs really well with this IO Instruments Puri. I hope I'm saying that right, and they're not. But this is a great filter, and and I have it running through the effects aid, by Happy Nerding. It's a nice, giving a little shimmer. The Bassimilus into the Euphoria, into the effects aid has been a standard voice in my case so far over the past several months.
What's this 4MS you have like centerpiece here?
So this right here is the dual looping delay, and you can use them in series, or you can route one into the other. You can use them separately, and that's exactly how I'm using them separate. So I have I took advantage of the 2 voices of the Piston Honda, and I have each voice running separately and through its own envelope filter, and then also to a separate channel on the delay, so I can kind of control each voice and adding delay. It's really cool. You can reverse it. You can, play with the speed and time, which I really enjoy doing. That is, part of techno, kind of grabbing those weird little loops. And
yeah, for sure. Let's kind of circle back to that vector sequencer. I'm very interested in
sure.
it's kind of like the main brain of your rig, it seems like right now.
It's great because it has a lot of connectivity, and the great thing about it is that it can be as deep or as simple as you want it to be, but it says parts, but essentially part 1 is channel 1. So there's 8 channels, 8 parts, 8 channels. And then if you go into the part, you have these other little numbers here that you can see, but each one of those is it's called a preset, and that's a sequence. And within that sequence, I can change the direction, the rate, the scale, the root scaling, the tuning, all of this deep level control and some within one preset. And then imagine, like, take that further and say, like, I make a preset for each channel, and maybe I want to play a different preset with this channel and another preset with, say, this channel, part 5. If I double click, it has scenes. So if anyone's familiar with, Bitwig or Ableton, you have this functionality of, like, now I'm cycling through scenes.
Wow.
So now it gets even more interesting and more control, because I can arrange entire sets or go by songs and then just launch it. And then it'll jump to those presets for each voice. And yeah, it's great. And then, like, the connectivity, you can't beat it. Like, I have it connected to Ableton right now, so it's like perfectly clocked off of Ableton. Jim Coker, he's like amazing coder and has really, like, gotten into the development of the 512, the vector sequencer, and he took the Launchpad by Novation. All the MK3 series, you can use this to control the vector. So if you want, you don't even really need to touch the vector. And he wrote it specifically, this firmware, to work with the vector. So the way he wrote it, you just plug it in, make sure your Launchpad or Launch Control Mini or what have you, or the Pro, is updated, and you're good to go.
This is why having you on Patchwork is just amazing right now, because I'm actually learning. I hope you all out there are learning as well. I am just floored at the functionality of the vector sequencer. I did not know that it worked great with the
yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm a very visual person, so when I teach people, I always, I'm not a person that says, don't buy this, or get this. I'm more like, I like to tell people to discover and think about how your brain works. Are you a visual person? Are you more into mathematics? And that way it will guide you into which modules will be better for you, and for you personally. So I'm very visual. I like that I can see the notes. I can see what's, like if it's above middle C, below middle C, what have you. And another reason why I like the Piston Honda, I've just recently started using this, but it has the screen, so I can see the algorithm happening, and I have the sliders. I'm all about sliders, which is why I use the Instruo Cease envelope.
So I see you got the Maestro as well, the Acid Rain Maestro. That's that full name, right?
Oh yeah. Again, it's all about, like, the visual representation. Like, that's just, I can quickly on the fly, like, hold down a button, and I know immediately, channel 1 is at half, or excuse me, eighth. It's slope ramp up, and I have it slow, so it's actually divided down instead of multiplied. But I like that you can chain the patterns together. So if I'm, like, running this, you can see I get the visual representation happening on how the output is occurring. And you can save presets if you want. I typically just like to go in and just change what I'm doing, like, on the fly, and I get that, and I can choose square wave or random. But I like that. It's basically, it's come down to, I want my case to be as performable as it can be, in the sense of I can look down and I can see exactly what's happening. So I like to program a few skeleton patterns to get me going, and then I can quickly go in and start changing things around and rewriting things.
Yeah.
I recently found a catalyst flow. They're very tough to find, but like you get this.
Wait a minute, time out. What is that?
Yeah.
The catalyst flow?
So the catalyst flow by Emblematic is basically you crossfade. It's in and out of CV parameters. So think of like if you've ever used the Electron Octatrack and you have the scenes and you use that fader to kind of, maybe you're reversing or crossing into various effects or what have you, that this operates the same way. So like if I'm looking at this pattern, maybe you can kind of see. So you see how it's sort of cycling 8 steps, and let me kind of, so now I have it set in, I'm modulating a point in the vector on this preset. So now if you watch when I move the fader,
That's incredible. And I have not seen this module before until today.
it's pretty sick. And then like but now instead of having it mapped to one thing, because I have, let's see how many, 8 outputs here of CV control, I have it like going to the wet and dry on the effects aid for the BIA. The world is your oyster. Like wherever you want to patch CV out to control, you can. So like you'll hear it you'll hear it open the reverb as well as change the sequence on here. So, and then close it. I'm not sure if you can kind of hear that, but if I add a kick in there, to kind of mix it up for techno, it's like, like.
That really speaks to me, that module in general, just having a crossfader, because I like you like sliders. I'm a big fan of faders. So I'm really going to go check this out after we talk today.
Yeah,
I'm really
it's pretty
interested
awesome.
in that one.
There's so many
There's
companies that are making cool modules, and like, yeah, I think it's very difficult for me personally. There's always talk about, having only one modular company as in your case, and it's just like there's the pro and cons. Those modules, they're made to kind of play together they work well together like a symphony, and using all modules within one company, they tend to create an instrument and they play well together. The other side is like wanting to add other sounds and being able to have like these dynamic ranges of different sounds in your setup, not wanting to introduce other companies and not having all the same company of modules in your rack. So it's like,
right. I understand both trains of thought. I also understand the benefits of buying a full system, especially when you're starting out.
Right.
But regardless of which, performing with it, we want to kind of perform with anything that fits our own workflow and our own brain. And going back to what you said, it's a really interesting point. Choose the modules that work like how your brain works.
Yes.
And just it's kind of like easier said than done, but it's definitely a great point that I'm going to start trying to live by, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So let's just like hear a little jam a little bit with this rig you got going.
All right, cool.
That was so awesome, Trovarsi. Thank you for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
talk to us. Well, all of the links for all Trovarsi's material, her music, where you can find her and whatnot, will be available below this video. And as always, if you want to read up more about Modular and just learn a thing or two more about getting into Eurorack, definitely check out all of our Eurorack material at reverb.com/news. All right. Well, Trovarsi, you've been such a wonderful guest today.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Really, really thank you for coming on board. And thank you all out there for watching Patchwork. Once again, I'm Fess Grandiose with Reverb, signing off. Stay safe, keep patching, and keep creating. Peace.